The Alliance fleet gathered in the outer reaches of the solar system resembled nothing so much as a cosmic menagerie. Sarah stood in the command center of the newly constructed Unity station, watching through massive viewports as ships from hundreds of different worlds maintained precise formations that defied every tactical manual ever written. Each vessel pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that matched the rhythm Rex had established months ago. The communication network that had begun with one alien dog and 3 orphaned cubs now spanned light years, connecting species that had never known of each other's existence. Status report from the Defense Coordination Council, announced Commander Zhang, who had arrived from Earth with the emergency military response fleet. His weathered face showed the strain of adapting human military doctrine to accommodate allies who communicated through bioelectric fields and managed tactics through emotional bonds. The Procyon delegations report their aquatic partners have successfully mapped the asteroid fields for defensive positions, he continued. The Vegan Collective's flying symbionts have established patrol routes through the outer system, and the Centauri groups have their burrowing companions reinforcing strategic installations. Sarah nodded, but her attention remained focused on the small family that had started it all. Rex lay in the center of Unity Station's biochamber, no longer the modest-sized creature he had been 2 years ago. Exposure to the station's enhanced environment and his role as the network's primary node had changed him. He was larger now, his bioluminescent stripes more complex, capable of generating patterns that served as a living translation matrix for dozens of different species. The cubs, no longer cubs at all, had undergone their own transformations. The bobcat-like creatures had developed into sleek predators, whose crystalline whiskers could interface directly with any technology in the Alliance fleet. Their biofiber optic capabilities had become so sophisticated that they served as living communication relays between ships separated by millions of kilometers. The lion, now bearing a magnificent golden mane that sparkled with electromagnetic energy, had become something unprecedented in galactic history. Its bioelectric field could coordinate the movements of entire fleets, processing tactical information from hundreds of sources simultaneously and distributing responses faster than any artificial intelligence. Rex wants to show us something, Dr. Vasquez reported from the biochamber. His pattern indicates he's received new information from the Deep Space Scouts. Sarah made her way to the biochamber, where the gathered representatives of the Alliance watched Rex create 3-dimensional light sculptures in the air. The images he projected showed the Devourer fleet in devastating detail. The enemy ships were massive beyond comprehension, each one the size of a small moon. They moved through space like living organisms, their surfaces covered in organic growth that pulsed with dark energy. Most terrifying of all, the fleet was larger than intelligence reports had suggested. Not hundreds of ships, but thousands. Estimated time to Earth intercept has been revised, Arya announced, her voice carrying new harmonics she had developed through interaction with the bio-network. The Devourers will arrive in 6 weeks, not 6 months. The Alliance representatives exchanged worried communications through the bio-network, their concern flowing through Rex and spreading to every ship in the fleet. But along with the fear came something else: determination, resolve, and an unshakable unity that surprised everyone, including Sarah, the Kythera ambassador, a being that resembled a crystalline tree with fractal branches that sang in harmonious frequencies, stepped forward. The network has grown stronger than we predicted. It communicated through Rex's translation field. The bonds between your rescued creatures have created something new. We call it the resonance. Rex's golden companion moved to the center of the chamber and activated its electromagnetic field. Suddenly, every being in the room could feel what the others felt. The Kythera's ancient wisdom, the determination of the human crews, the fierce protectiveness of the rescued animals, the hope of species that had fled their destroyed home worlds. All of it flowed together into a shared consciousness that maintained individual identity while creating collective strength. This is what the Devourers cannot understand, the Kythera continued. They see only prey and predator, resource and consumption. They cannot comprehend willing sacrifice for others or strength drawn from emotional bonds. Sarah felt tears forming as she experienced the network's full power for the first time. She could sense Rex's paternal pride in his adopted family, the cubs' fierce loyalty to their protector, and extending outward, The same bonds replicated across hundreds of ships and thousands of rescued creatures. How do we use this against them? She asked. The answer came not from the Kithera, but from Rex himself. His light patterns showed a battle plan that was less strategy and more symphony. The Alliance fleet would engage the Devourers not as separate ships, but as a single organism. Each vessel serving as a cell in a vast biological computer, guided by the emotional bonds between rescued animals and their protectors. The Devourer's strength comes from their hive mind, Rex's patterns explained through Arya's translation. They cannot adapt to opposition that moves faster than their collective consciousness can process. But we are not a hive mind. We are a family mind. We think with love instead of consumption. Dr. Vasquez studied the bio-readings from the network interface. The resonance field is spreading beyond our fleet, she reported. I'm detecting similar patterns emerging around Earth itself. The main display shifted to show Earth's orbital space, where something remarkable was happening. The planet's zoos, wildlife preserves, and research stations were all reporting the same phenomenon. Animals were exhibiting coordinated behaviors that mirrored the Alliance network. Earth's biosphere itself was joining the resonance field. Every creature that has ever been rescued, protected, or loved by humans is becoming part of the network, Sarah realized. Rex didn't just adopt 3 cubs. He taught us how to adopt an entire galaxy. Rex's purring filled the biochamber, but now it carried harmonics from thousands of other creatures across the fleet. The sound was no longer just contentment, but confidence, certainty, and something that made the Devourer's approach seem less like an ending and more like a test that life itself was eager to pass. The Lion's electromagnetic field pulsed once, sending a message through the network that reached every ship, every station, every world in the Alliance. The message was simple, carried in frequencies that transcended language. Family protects family. The Devourers were about to learn that love was the most powerful force in the universe, and that a German shepherd who had raised bobcats and a lion cub had accidentally shown an entire galaxy how to fight with hearts instead of weapons. The real battle was about to begin. The Devourer fleet emerged from hyperspace like a plague of locusts given form. Their massive bioships blocked out entire constellations as they swept toward Earth's solar system, each vessel pulsing with the dark energy that had consumed countless worlds. Captain Chen watched from Unity Station's command bridge as the enemy approached in their characteristic consumption formation. The Devourers moved like a living organism, their ships connected by streams of dark matter that allowed them to share resources and consciousness across their entire fleet. Distance to enemy vanguard, 2 million kilometers and closing, reported Commander Zhang. All Alliance fleets report. Ready for engagement, but Sarah's attention wasn't on the tactical displays. Instead, she watched Rex in the biochamber below, where the alien shepherd lay surrounded by his grown family. The network they had created now connected over 1 million rescued creatures across the galaxy, all linked through bonds of love and protection that the Devourers couldn't comprehend. Rex is requesting direct command authority, Dr. Vasquez announced. The entire Alliance network wants to follow his lead. Sarah didn't hesitate. Transfer tactical command to Rex. All human vessels will follow network guidance. The response was immediate. Rex's bioluminescent stripes blazed with new intensity as he accessed the combined processing power of every allied ship. His adopted cubs took their positions around him, the bobcat-like creatures extending their crystalline whiskers to interface with the station's systems, while the Lion's electromagnetic field amplified their connection across space. Through the bio-network, Sarah felt what Rex felt, the approach of something fundamentally hostile to life itself. The Devourers weren't just predators, they were entropy-given consciousness, existence dedicated to reducing the universe to its simplest components. But she also felt something else. The network carried emotions and memories from across the galaxy. A Kithera parent singing crystal songs to abandoned young. Human researchers hand-feeding orphaned alien cubs. Creatures from 100 worlds choosing to protect rather than consume, to build families rather than hierarchies. Enemy fleet is in weapons range, Zhang reported. They're charging some kind of planetary bombardment system. The Devourer ships began to glow with malevolent energy, preparing to strip Earth's biosphere just as they had done to countless other worlds. But as their weapons reached full charge, something unprecedented happened. Rex's network activated as one. The Alliance fleet didn't charge forward in attack formation. Instead, they spread out around Earth in a pattern that mirrored the neural pathways of a living brain. Each ship became a synapse in a vast consciousness that spanned the entire solar system. The Devourers fired their world-killing weapons, streams of dark energy that should have boiled Earth's oceans and stripped away its atmosphere, but the energy never reached its target. The Alliance ships absorbed the attack, not through shields or armor, but through the bio-network itself. Rex's family had taught them that love could transform even the most destructive forces. The Devourers' consuming hunger became nourishment for the network. Their desire to destroy converted into power that strengthened the bonds between rescued creatures across the galaxy. Impossible, came the first transmission the Devourers had ever made to another species. Their collective consciousness couldn't process what it was witnessing. Prey does not consume predator. Resources do not strengthen bonds. Rex's response came through the network, translated into frequencies that even the Devourers could understand. The message was simple. You are the prey now. We are family. The Alliance began its counterattack, but it wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of weapons fire, the ships projected Rex's bio-patterns directly at the Devourer fleet. The same light frequencies that had once soothed 3 orphaned cubs now carried a different message, an invitation to join something larger than consumption. The effect on the Devourers was immediate and terrifying. Their hive mind, built on the principle of endless hunger, couldn't adapt to the concept of willing cooperation. Ships began breaking away from their formation as individual Devourers experienced something they had never known, the possibility of choice. Their collective consciousness is fragmenting, Arya reported. The network's patterns are introducing concepts of individual identity and emotional bonds. Their hive mind is trying to process the idea of love, and it's causing cascade failures across their entire fleet. But the Devourers weren't helpless. Their largest bioships began metamorphosing, growing new appendages that could interface directly with the Alliance network. They were trying to consume the biopatterns themselves to add the power of love to their arsenal of hunger. Rex sensed the danger immediately. His stripes flashed in urgent warning patterns as he realized that the Devourers might succeed in weaponizing the very bonds that gave the Alliance its strength. The lion stepped forward, its mane crackling with electromagnetic energy. For the first time since becoming part of Rex's family, it acted independently, breaking from the network to face the approaching corruption alone. Sarah watched in horror as the lion's bioelectric field expanded beyond safe parameters. He's overloading himself, she realized. He's trying to contain the Devourer's attempt to corrupt the network. The Bobcat twins moved to flank their adopted brother, their crystalline whiskers blazing with light as they channeled power from across the Alliance fleet. But even with their support, the lion was burning out, sacrificing himself to protect the family bonds that connected 1 million rescued creatures. Rex made a decision that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Instead of protecting his adoptive son, he chose to trust him. The alien shepherd's bioluminescent stripes synchronized with the lion's electromagnetic field. But instead of restraining the young predator's power, Rex amplified it. The Bobcat twins joined the resonance, creating a feedback loop that drew energy from every allied ship, every rescued creature, every bond of love and protection that had ever formed between species. The resulting explosion of bioelectric energy swept across the Devourer fleet like a wave of pure emotion. For the first time in their species' history, the Devourers experienced what they had spent eons destroying: the joy of protection, the strength of cooperation, the peace of belonging to something greater than oneself. The transformation was immediate and complete. Devourer bioships began changing, their weapons systems converting into nurseries, their consumption chambers becoming habitats for the very creatures they had once hunted. Rex's family had done more than win a battle. They had converted the galaxy's greatest predators into its newest members, proving that love truly was the most powerful force in the universe. But the cost of that transformation was yet to be fully understood. In the aftermath of the transformation, space around Earth had become something unprecedented in galactic history. Former Devourer bioships floated peacefully among Alliance vessels, their organic hulls pulsing with the same gentle rhythms that Rex had first established in his simple habitat years ago. Captain Chen stood in Unity Station's medical bay, watching Dr. Vasquez monitor the vital signs of Rex's family. The massive energy expenditure that had converted the Devourers had taken its toll. The lion lay unconscious, his magnificent mane dim and his electromagnetic field barely detectable. The Bobcat twins maintained vigil beside him, their crystalline whiskers flickering weakly as they channeled their remaining energy into keeping their brother stable. Rex himself appeared unchanged, but Sarah could see the weight of what he had sacrificed reflected in his ancient eyes. The alien shepherd had aged years in moments, the burden of carrying a galaxy-spanning network finally showing in the silver that now streaked his midnight blue fur. "How are they?" Sarah asked quietly. "Stable but changed," Elena replied, studying readings that defied medical explanation. The energy transfer didn't just drain them physically. It fundamentally altered their neural pathways. They're no longer just individual creatures connected to a network. They've become something entirely new. Through the medical bay's observation window, Sarah could see representatives from hundreds of species gathering in Unity Station's main chamber. Former Devourers moved among them, their presence causing ripples of fear and wonder that flowed through the bio-network. These beings had spent millennia consuming entire civilizations, and now they sought guidance from rescued animals about how to build rather than destroy. "The integration process is remarkable," Arya reported. "Former Devourer consciousness is fragmenting along individual identity lines, but instead of causing chaos, each fragment is seeking bonds with rescued creatures throughout the network. They're learning to be family." Sarah watched as a massive Devourer entity, its crystalline carapace still bearing scars from its consuming days, approached a small habitat containing earth rabbits. The creature's attempts at communication were clumsy but sincere, its bioelectric field mimicking the gentle patterns Rex had used to comfort his cubs years ago. "They're trying to adopt pets," Elena observed with amazement. "Beings that once devoured worlds are asking rescued animals to teach them how to love." The process wasn't without challenges. Several Devourer individuals had experienced what could only be described as emotional breakdowns as they fully comprehended the magnitude of destruction they had caused. The network had responded by surrounding these traumatized beings with the most experienced rescue animals, creatures who understood both loss and healing. Rex stirred in his medical bed, his bioluminescent stripes flickering with weak but determined light. Sarah approached carefully, knowing that the alien shepherd's enhanced empathy meant he could feel the emotional state of every being on the station. "How are you feeling, old friend?" she asked. Rex's response came not through the usual bio-network translation, but through direct emotional resonance. Sarah felt his exhaustion, his concern for his adopted children, but also his profound satisfaction at what they had accomplished together. The medical bay doors opened to admit an unexpected visitor. The Kithera ambassador flowed into the room, its crystalline branches singing with frequencies of reverence and gratitude. "The network calculates that Rex's family prevented the extinction of over 4 billion sapient beings across the galaxy," the Kithera communicated, "but the cost analysis indicates critical instability in the primary nodes." Elena's expression grew concerned. "What kind of instability?" "The energy expenditure required to transform the Devourers exceeded safe biological limits. Rex and his family are burning out. Without intervention, the network will lose its primary coordination nodes within 72 hours. Sarah felt her heart sink. After everything they had achieved, was she going to lose the family that had made it all possible? But Rex's stripes began pulsing with new patterns, and Sarah realized he was communicating something important. The network carried his message to every conscious being in the system. Family is not about individuals. Family is about choice. New nodes, new bonds. Network continues. Throughout Unity Station and across the Alliance fleet, something beautiful began happening. The rescued animals that had learned from Rex's example started forming their own family units, adopting orphaned Devourers, teaching former predators how to protect instead of consume. Each new bond created additional network nodes, distributing the massive processing load that Rex's family had been carrying alone. The bioelectric patterns that flowed between species grew more complex and more stable, as thousands of new family units joined the galactic consciousness. He planned this, Sarah realized. Rex knew that saving the Devourers would require more than his family could provide alone. He's been teaching the entire network how to become families so they could take over when his time came. The lion stirred, his electromagnetic field flickering back to life as the network's distributed processing relieved the strain on his individual systems. The Bobcat twins' crystalline whiskers began glowing again as thousands of other creatures took up the communication load they had been carrying. Rex himself seemed to grow stronger as the network evolved. Beyond its dependence on his original family unit, his bioluminescent stripes brightened, but now they carried patterns contributed by every species in the Alliance. He was no longer just an alien dog who had adopted alien cats. He had become the father figure of an entire galactic civilization. Dr. Vasquez checked her readings one more time. Vital signs are stabilizing across all primary nodes, she announced. The network has successfully distributed its load. They're going to be fine. Sarah smiled as she watched Rex's family slowly wake up, their recovery accelerated by the care flowing to them from millions of grateful beings across the galaxy. The German shepherd who had broken out of his habitat to comfort 3 crying cubs had accidentally taught the universe how to love. But their story wasn't over. In the depths of space, other threats were stirring, drawn by the unprecedented display of galactic unity. The network would face new challenges, but now it had something the universe had never seen before. A civilization built on the foundation of rescue, adoption, and unconditional love. Rex's legacy would continue to grow, one rescued creature at a time. 2 years after the transformation of the Devourers, the galaxy had become something unrecognizable from its former state. Captain Sarah Chen, now director of the Galactic Rescue Alliance, stood in the observation deck of New Unity Station, watching as ships from 1,000 worlds maintained peaceful orbits around what had once been the most dangerous region of space. The former Devourer territory had been converted into the largest animal sanctuary in galactic history. Entire bioships served as habitats for rescued creatures from every corner of the known universe. The beings who had once consumed worlds now dedicated their existence to preserving and protecting life in all its forms. Status report from the Outer Rim territories, announced Commander Zhang, his hair now completely gray but his spirit more energetic than ever. The Andromeda expedition has made contact with 17 new species. All have agreed to join the rescue network. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on the central habitat where Rex's family maintained their home. The alien shepherd was larger now, his midnight blue fur marked by streaks of silver that told the story of his transformation from a simple rescued animal to the spiritual center of an interstellar civilization. His adopted cubs, now fully mature, had become legends throughout the galaxy. The lion's electromagnetic abilities allowed him to coordinate rescue operations across multiple star systems simultaneously. The Bobcat twins had developed their crystalline whiskers into living archives, storing the histories and cultures of every species that joined the network. But what melted Sarah's heart every time she visited was watching Rex continue to do what he had always done best: adopt orphans who needed a family. The habitat was currently home to 23 rescued creatures representing species from across 2 galaxies. A crystalline entity from the Magellanic Clouds played gentle games with aquatic mammals. From the methane seas of Titan, bird-like creatures from Proxima, Centauri taught song patterns to young devourers who were learning to communicate through harmony rather than hunger. Rex wants to show you something, Dr. Vasquez announced. Approaching from the habitat's entrance, Elena had been promoted to Director of Interspecies Psychology, a field that hadn't existed before Rex proved that love was a universal language. Sarah made her way into the habitat, where she found Rex surrounded by his newest adoptees. 3 small creatures huddled against his warm flanks, their fear slowly giving way to trust under the gentle influence of his bioluminescent patterns. Survivors from the Vale Nebula incident, Elena explained. Their world was destroyed by a natural disaster, not by any hostile force. They're the last of their species. Sarah felt her heart break as she looked at the tiny beings. They couldn't have been more than children, their iridescent scales dim with grief and trauma. But already Rex's influence was working its magic. His purring carried frequencies that seemed to comfort them, and his adopted children were gently introducing themselves through soft bioelectric pulses. How many does that make? Sarah asked. Rex has personally adopted over 200 orphaned creatures in the past 2 years, Elena replied. But his influence extends far beyond his own family. The network now includes over 50 million family units across 3 galaxies. The implications were staggering. What had begun as one alien dog's instinct to comfort crying cubs had evolved into a galactic civilization based on the principles of rescue, adoption, and unconditional love. Wars between species had become obsolete when every world was connected through bonds of chosen family. Director Chen, Arya's voice came through the habitat's speakers. We're receiving a priority transmission from the Deep Space Exploration Fleet. Sarah made her way to the communication center, where the main screen displayed an image that took her breath away. A massive structure hung in the void between galaxies, its design clearly artificial but unlike anything any known species had created. It's a message beacon, reported Captain Torres, who commanded the exploration fleet from the bridge of a converted Devourer bioship. The structure has been broadcasting continuously for approximately 50,000 years. The signal is designed to be comprehensible to any species that has achieved interstellar travel. What does it say? Sarah asked. The answer came not from Torres but from Rex himself. The alien shepherd had somehow accessed the communication feed, and his bioluminescent stripes began creating 3-dimensional holographic displays that filled the habitat. The images told a story that resonated across time itself. An ancient civilization had faced extinction, not from war or disaster, but from the gradual loss of empathy that came with technological advancement. They had become so focused on efficiency and logic that they had forgotten how to form emotional bonds. Their final act before disappearing into history had been to launch message beacons into the void, hoping that someday, somewhere, a species would evolve that understood the true power of love and family bonds. They're calling to us, Rex's patterns translated through the network, waiting for someone to show them how to feel again. Sarah realized that their mission was far from over. The Galactic Rescue Alliance had saved the known universe from the Devourers, but now they faced an even greater challenge, rescuing an ancient civilization from its own emotional extinction. Prepare the long-range fleet, she ordered. We have a new family to save. As Rex settled down with his newest adoptees, Sarah watched the small creatures begin to glow with gentle bioluminescence that matched their protectors' patterns. Once again, love was proving to be the most powerful force in the universe. The German shepherd who had raised bobcats and a lion cub had accidentally shown the cosmos something profound. That family wasn't about biology or evolution or even species. It was about choice, protection, and the willingness to love without condition. 2 years later, as ships prepared for humanity's greatest rescue mission yet, Sarah could see that what Rex had started would never end. Across 3 galaxies, millions of creatures slept safely in the embrace of families they had chosen, and who had chosen them in return. The universe had learned to love, one adopted orphan at a time. And at the center of it all, an alien dog continued to do what he had always done best: show lost souls what it meant to belong to. Something greater than themselves. Rex's legacy would endure as long as there were creatures in need of rescue and beings willing to open their hearts to family bonds that transcended every boundary the cosmos could create. In a universe vast and often cold, he had proved that love always found a way to bring everyone home.